churches to say they only have 4 in a year, right? I know churches that haven't had 4 baptisms in probably like 3 years. And that, like you had 4 on one weekend. That's awesome. That's great. You guys should be super proud of that. As I said, my name's John, and I'm a student at Golden Gate Theological Baptist Seminary, the longest school name in the world. I live at home with my mom and my 5.5-year-old brother, who's adopted, and I'm getting married in June to Amber, my lovely bride. I'm the lucky one.
Yes.
Well said.
I'm super excited to be here with you guys today. You guys are a warm, welcoming bunch. Like, you walk in and everyone's like, oh, nice to meet you. It's awesome. It's a very loving place to be. And who wouldn't want to come preach to a church that's loving, you know? I've preached to youth before, and they can be like zombies. They'll be asleep, and the next minute they want to attack you. So, there might be one right here. So let's get started. Do any of you guys ever deal with worry? Is worry is something that you ever have happened to you? Like I said, I'm getting married in June, and I don't have a full-time job yet. So occasionally, I struggle with worry. Worry is something that crosses my mind. I'm like, how am I going to provide? I'm now going to have a wife. I'm going to have someone that I'm responsible for. And I don't have a job. How am I going to provide? And worry is something that we all face from time to time. Like, you could worry about, are you going to have a job next week with the way that the economy is? You could worry about paying your next bill. You can worry about your kids or your grandkids. Or if you're younger, you can worry about your parents. If you need to care for your parents, what that's going to look like. You can worry about your car. Is your car going to continue to work? Or am I going to have to buy a new car? Or you can worry about government shutdown up until 10 p.m. last Friday. Like, oh, I'm planning on my tax return to use it to pay for stuff. Oh, but if the government shuts down, I don't get my tax return. What do I do? You can also worry about things in the future, long term, like, am I going to have retirement? Is there going to be enough money in my retirement account when it's time to retire? Is my money in my retirement going to be worth anything because of the way the dollar's going? Is there going to be Social Security when I retire? Probably for me, there's not. And there's these things we can worry about. All these different things that can cause us to worry. And I feel like almost at times, like, worry is a natural human situation. Like, we are meant to worry. Like, does anyone feel like that? Do you ever feel like worry is just something that is part of being human? Does anyone worry about any of the things I named?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know I do. Like, money? I need money. I need to provide a place to live. Leave and cleave. We don't want to live with my mother. Right? I know she doesn't. I know. 5-year-olds wake you up early. So worry is part of us, it seems like. But is this something we have to live with? Is worry part of the human condition? Or can we live without worry? Is it possible to not live with worry? Now, after studying the passage we're going to go through today, I'm convinced that we can live life without worry. That it is 100% possible to live without worry. But before we get into our passage, I want to talk to you about the book we're going to be in. We're going to be in Philippians. And if you're going to open up one of the Pew Bibles, I know the passage we're in is on 1163, or the chair Bibles, because you don't have pews. Pew Bibles, the term in my head, but the chair Bible. And the book of Philippians is written by the Apostle Paul. And if you don't know who the Apostle Paul is, he was a Jewish Pharisee who was part of the Jewish religious society, and he persecuted Christians. He held the cloaks of Jewish members while they stoned Christians. He was not on Team Jesus. And then he's on his way to go kill some more Christians and put them in jail. And Jesus comes to him in a vision. He says, why are you persecuting me? And Paul becomes a Christian. And he goes from killing Christians to telling people to become them. And because of this, Paul finds himself in jail, in Rome, before Nero. And if you don't know anything about Nero, Nero's a whack job. He's crazy. He killed his own mother, and he would take Christians, put them on stakes in his garden, and light them on fire. Just so he would have light in his garden. He is the He is the Caesar, the emperor that they say fiddled while Rome burned. He literally let Rome burn so he could build a better palace for himself. He's crazy. So Paul is sitting here in jail, not knowing what's going to happen to him. He could die. He could go before Nero, and Nero could say, "You're going to death," and Paul dies. Or he could say, "You are free to go," and Paul will go, and he will go on to Spain and preach Jesus, because that's his ultimate life. Paul is sitting here in jail, wondering what is going to happen. But when he writes this book to the Philippians, he has the ability to say, in Philippians 1:21, "For to me to live is Christ, and to die is gain." That's a pretty powerful statement. When your head is on the line, and you can say, no matter what happens, it's going to be okay. Jesus has it. It's under control. It's pretty powerful. Now, while he's in jail, the Philippians, some dear friends of Paul, these are Paul's, they've constantly supported him. They are his amazing friends that have really been there for him. And he considers them dear friends. And they write to him about some issues that are going on. And he says, so he responds back to them, one friend to another, a letter saying, hey, he's answering all their questions. And one of the things they're dealing with is tribulation, trials, and things going on around them. Things they can worry about. Things that would cause any of us to worry, I think. Persecution as Christians from the outside society. People are dying, and you're losing your family because you've become a Christian. And so he's writing to his friends to tell them about this, about worry, what to do with it. And if you open your Bibles to Philippians chapter 4, verses 4 to 7, we'll read the whole passage, and then we'll kind of look at it individually, each verse. We'll take it apart, and then we'll hopefully put it back together, and we'll get a big picture of what Paul is telling us to do. He says, "Rejoice in the Lord always." I will say it again, rejoice. "Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." In the first verse, Paul says, "Rejoice in the Lord always." I will say it again, rejoice. It's a pretty concrete statement, right? Do this all the time. Rejoice always. Always is a clear term, right? We don't need to go over the Greek of what always means, right? Always means always. Not sometimes, not occasionally, not when things are good, but always. And he says rejoice, or joy, or be joyful. And often I think we interpret that as happiness. But joy and happiness, if you've been a Christian for a period of time, you'll have learned that people have taught you that joy and happiness are different. Joy is based in God. It's rooted in who God is, in our relationship with Him. And then happiness is rooted in the moment. It's rooted in what I have, the car I drive, the person I'm spending time with, who I'm married to, who I'm not married to, my job, all these things. Happiness is fleeting. It is but a vapor. It's something that just is there a minute and then can be gone. It can change like that. You can lose your happiness like that. You can be happy. The Angels are up 5-0, and then what do you know? They're losing 6-5. You know, or basketball, the Lakers, they're going to go to the playoffs, and now they've lost 4 games in a row, and they can't seem to do it. Whatever. If we base our happiness, if Paul's telling us to be happy always, we would think he was crazy because we can't be happy always. But since he tells us to be joyful or to rejoice, we can do that all the time, right? He's telling us to focus on something, to focus on God and what God has done, to rejoice in those things. In Psalm 107:43, you guys don't have to turn there, I'll just read it. It says, "Whoever is wise, let him heed these things, and consider the great love of God." We're to consider the great love of God, that He sacrificed Himself for us. We're supposed to focus on them. And it'll change our perspective. How many of you wear glasses or contacts? When the doctor comes to you and he says, or the optometrist, and he comes to you and he says, you need glasses. What's he telling you? He's telling you you can't see the world correctly, right? You don't see the world as it truly is. Your eyes, for some reason, don't function the way that they are supposed to. So you put on glasses. And glasses help you to see the world correctly, the way it's intended for human beings to be seen. So you can read something, or you can see far away, or things aren't blurry anymore. That's what Paul is telling us to do. He's telling us to put on the lens of joy, of rejoice, that we're to focus on these things. And when we focus on them, we see what God has done, and no longer are we worried about our external circumstances. Because ultimately, like Ron said with Romans 8:28, God works all things together to the good of those who love God. Right? When we put that on, we can be reminded. When we put those glasses on. So if you're taking notes and you want to write something down, you can write, remember to rejoice. Remember to rejoice. In the next verse, verse 5, Paul says, let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Let it be evident. That means there has to be proof. Evidence. Evident. It can be visible to other people. It's not just like, oh, I'm gentle in my heart. I'm super happy. But then you go off the handle at someone. Gentleness. It's something that is in us that we exude. And it's something that becomes evident to everyone around us as we have that. And he's calling us to be gentle because the idea here is, since the Lord is near, we don't need to collect from other people what they owe us. I don't need to go and worry about vengeance because Romans 12:19, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. It is God's job to take care of the situation. He will fix the problem. He'll work it out. He'll take care of it. Now, another image. I want you guys to picture you're driving and you pull up to a four-way stop. And a police officer pulls up behind you before you take your turn. Don't worry, he's not going to give you a ticket. And you start to pull out, and instantly a car blows through the stop sign, almost T-bones you, and you're upset. That's understandable. He almost hit you. He almost killed you. You can go chase off after him and chew him out, but you don't have to because instantly the police officer, light sirens on, whoop, and he goes off after him. You don't have to worry about taking care of the situation because you know the police officer. We don't need to take care of situations. We don't need to worry about getting even because we know God. God is in control.